welcome to Cindy's Library. This is Cindy, and today I'm going to talk about how Victober ended up. So let's start here. I finished Bleak House. I feel like I need to reread it. I didn't get as much out of it as I could have, but I did greatly enjoy it. Let's see. I also finished The Way We Live Now, which somehow I got more out of. I did end up really enjoying this one. Then I was scheduled to do New Grub Street by George Gissing, and Bleak House is by Charles Dickens, and The Way We Live Now is by Anthony Trollope. So New Grub Street by George Gissing. I actually got nearly halfway through it, but it was a DNF. It wasn't the book. It was me. Well, I guess it is kind of the book. It's not that George Gissing isn't good. He's too good. There are a number of different characters in here. They are, I forget the name. Let's see here. Jasper, that's right. Jasper Milvain. He is a young up-and-coming author, and he is willing to write anything, do just about anything, to make the connections he needs, to get published, etc., and so forth. Contrast to an acquaintance, closer to a friend, hard to say sometimes, Edwin Reardon. He is a true artiste, and his career started well enough, some reasonable acclaim, especially for a debut author. And he did several books after that, but each one he made less at. And so now he's at the end of his rope, money's almost gone, and he married on the strength of his first book. Difficult to know what to do, and worst of all, he can't seem to get himself to write, which is a problem. So these two contrasting things, and with how worried Edwin and his wife are, so realistic, it was not comfortable. Not saying this is a permanent DNF, but it took a lot of effort to get as far as I did. So I switched to Charlotte Mary Yonge, Chantry House. And that was the right decision because I finished this in 2 days. Charlotte Mary Yonge writes family sagas, and this is no different. Let me see if I can find one. Yes. It has a few illustrations in it, which I greatly appreciate. But Chantry House, this is a story, well, it's a family saga. 3 older brothers, a sister, then a little youngest brother. And this takes, well, this is being written by one of the older brothers at the age of 80 or some such thing. So they start out in the city, father's a barrister, and so they do fairly well. But unexpectedly, they find out that a distant-ish relative, I'm not even sure if the father even ever met him or went to Chantry House. Anyway, this older relative, he dies, and he is the last member of the main branch of the Winslows, which leaves the father inheriting Chantry House and everything. And so he does. And there's another family in the neighborhood. I forget their name. In any case, neighborhood family that has been feuding with the Winslow family, at least the main branch, for at least a century, maybe closer to 2 centuries. Apparently, something happened. Not sure anyone knows the rights or wrongs of it entirely anymore, but something happened, and there's been rather a feud going on ever since. Fortunately, the head of that family has no interest in continuing that feud, even if some of the younger generation do. And as for Father Winslow, he didn't even know there was one. So it's like, I'm good with ending this here. It's more complicated than that, though. Let's just say there's a ghost involved and leave it at that. But this is definitely the right thing to read. Charlotte Mary Yonge is Kate Howe, who introduced us to Charlotte Mary Yonge, for which I am extremely thankful because it has been such a delight. This is my second one. And she is right when she describes it as Little Women-esque. That is a very good read to describe it, and that is perfect for me since Little Women was a extremely early influence for me. Got a copy, I think, for my 12th birthday, and I probably read it 10 times before I graduated from high school. And these are just as good. Sometimes things happen that complicate things here, but really these are just good people trying to live life. And some of them, looking at the oldest son here and the second son, make mistakes. The thing though is to overcome them as the second son did, and not let them overcome you as the first son did. So, I love it. And I read The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde. For being a ghost story, it's extremely hilarious. I read this last Halloween too. Oh, it is about a ghost in a manor that has been haunting and terrifying the people there, probably for several centuries at least, if not longer. And so the main family gives up, decides they'll rent out the place. They end up renting to an American family who at first don't even believe in ghosts. They finally are convinced. And then the father, he hands the ghost some specific oil to put on his chain so they won't rattle anymore. And the wife wants to give him tea and tonic for his wailing and moaning, and the little twin boys terrorize him. It's great. I recommend it for Halloween. There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 main stories in here. So I might have to try a different one later on. So that was the end of Victober. So let's take a look at how things went. It started off very well with The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, sensation novel. Let me see. I chose this as a first-person narrative because it is indeed first-person. People's journals, or they are convinced to put down an account of things that happen at a specific time or things like that. Very enjoyable. Let's see. Then we did Hester by Margaret Oliphant, which I could not put down, I admit it. Not quite as much as A Woman in White, but it pulled me through. And this I did for New Woman. It's Catherine Vernon who is the new woman who saved the family from financial ruin and the bank. And it is Hester who wants to be a new woman. Let's see, and Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. There is Lady Audley, a new wife of an older gentleman. He's probably in his 40s or 50s, I would imagine. She is young and beautiful, and yes, she does have a big secret. And not sure I can say much more about this. And I was going to read this for Stranger Outsider because Lady Audley is a stranger and outsider at the beginning. But I decided to switch this to New to Me since I've never read an Mary Elizabeth Braddon before. So there is that. Then I read The Way We Live Now. Trollope, he makes you sympathetic with almost all of his characters, even the bad ones. Even Mr. Melmont, one of the leading figures here. I'm not sure you entirely like him, but you certainly, if not exactly sympathize with him, you kind of have to admire his brashness. Sir Phoenix. That's all I can say. Greatly enjoyed this one though, and this was the group read. Then Bleak House. We have everyone from I forget who. Let's see. the deadlock, Sir Leicester Dedlock, Sir Leicester and Lady Dedlock, to the poor road sweeper Joe, and everything, well, maybe not quite everything, but a lot of characters in between. And so this one I did for class. And then, since New Grub Street was a fail, Chantry House, I am counting for stranger or outsider. Since at first the Winslows are outsiders at Chantry House and the neighborhood. So I would say Victober is definitely a success. Chantry House, it has my heart. That was the best. Followed by probably A Lady in White, then Lady Audley's Secret. Apparently I have a taste for sensation novels, which I did not know. But they both are so redemptive at the end, so I love that part. And the ride getting there is quite something as well. Probably have to put The Way We Live Now next, with Bleak House next, although I fully expect my next read of Bleak House to put it higher. And then that leaves Hester at the bottom with New Grub Street as a DNF. So I would say overall this was a successful Victober. I completed all of the challenges. Hope you enjoyed Victober, or at least your October, the reading you did therein. Love to hear what you read in the month of October. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you would like to. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. So until next time, hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.